Okay, hello and welcome to today's video. If you're new here, which you probably are, because I know I am, this is a channel tracking my journey financially and physically outside of the system. And that system being the failed government policies and strict financial sectors, keeping us trapped, struggling, and desperate. Now that may not be the case for all of you, but it is for many, and myself included. So today I want to discuss the benefit of 90% or constitutional silver. As refineries get backlogged and inundated with sellers from, the record-breaking prices that we've had on silver, and the European mint shortages, the fact that 90% is not being accepted or bought at this time shouldn't deter you from taking advantage of its low price, particularly if you're on a tight budget. Now, these refusals to buy 90%, they're temporary and they're par for the course. In some cases, only about 60% of silver is extracted from 90%, and the process is a lot more tedious than melting down, pure 999. Now, if you notice, premiums on pure 999 are steadily climbing, and depending on your budget, some of us could be, facing the possibility of being priced out of larger purchases. So with that being said, 90%, which can be had at or, in a lot of cases under spot, it makes sense to increase your silver weight by taking advantage of the lower prices. And there's a lot of shops and dealers begin, sitting on piles of 90%. Some even better deals could arise in the near future. So as a good example, here is 4.5 ounces of silver. This is based on the $1.40 or 14 dime roll. Right now, that's all I have is dimes in my collection as far as 90% goes. So my total cost for, just this 90% was $162, which gives me like a $36 per ounce average, which is really good. So that's one of the ways that you can stack weight. And, for me, I want my silver in weight. It's not a numismatic thing. It's not, I'm not particularly picky about what I buy. I just want to build up the weight. 90% is an easy way to do that. Now, I don't necessarily do it for bartering, but, for bartering in an SHTF scenario, I would gladly exchange, 90% silver for, a bag of rice. I would gladly do that. If you could, though, try to bring me some quarters or half dollars. Now, if I had to liquidate, for an emergency or, a medical bill or an expensive car repair or for whatever reason, if I had to liquidate, the first thing I'm probably going to go for is, silver bars. They're 999 fine. They're pure silver, and you build weight up quicker with these. The premiums are also lower on bars than they are with the Eagles. But again, for me personally, I would hate to see this, these coins melted down in a refinery anyway. I don't, this would be something that I would at least attempt to hold forever and ever and ever, and possibly pass down, to my kids, because really, at some point, I don't want our history to just disappear. A lot of our history is disappearing. It's being tarnished. It's being buried. And, this is at least some of our history that we can hold on to as stackers. And this is why, particularly, yes, I want the silver, I want the weight, I do it for the price, but at the same time, I buy other forms of silver if I did have to liquidate. And I do stack silver for emergency purposes. Mostly, it is a good store of value. At least it has been lately. But I definitely don't. I would definitely hate to see my 90%, sent to a refinery forever. Especially if with the older stuff. Like with the Mercuries, they're really cool. Especially if you buy a roll of them. You never know what you're going to get. And these are all, they're not very well worn. Some of them are tarnished. There's a couple in there that look really, really shiny. Some of them you could probably have graded. They're really neat to look through. It's kind of like a mystery thing. You don't know what you're going to get every time. But when you buy a roll of them, obviously they're mercuries. You're getting silver. They're fun to look through. It's kind of a mystery thing. And that's basically the reason why I would keep stacking this. Now I think I've heard some of the refineries are beginning to take 90% again. But honestly, guys, you know, let's not melt down history. These were recently created. Other coins are recently minted. I would be more inclined to get rid of those first if I had to. And that's why I keep stacking 90%, especially since some of the prices have gone down a lot and a lot of shops are sitting on way too much inventory. So they're really, they're willing to make really good deals for you. So now I wouldn't necessarily, because let's see, I'm going to, I guess I have another a coin show coming up this Sunday, I believe, on 26th. I may or may not pick up 90%. I probably will, but 90% is not going to be the bulk of my silver stack. So I want some because of the history. I'm a coin collector. I love old coins. So for the history, it's there. If I'll buy it if it's a really good deal. But as far as the bulk of my stacking, it's probably going to be 999 fine. And I would hate for people to be deterred from buying 90% thinking that it's complete junk because a lot of people are saying, oh well, the refineries don't take it. Well, they don't, and they're inundated with it. And this is just kind of a unique time in history, and it's temporary, and it's going to go away. So I'll end this here. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in content from, someone building financial freedom late in the game and on unlimited funds, that's my focus. So I'll hope you subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.